Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that might not be the most fun topic, but it is important. We're going to be talking about falls among older adults in Canada. And trust me, this isn't going to be all doom and gloom and statistics. We're going to uncover some pretty surprising facts and get to some practical tips that can actually help you or someone you love.
Sounds good.
So the source material we're looking at today is this resource called Falls Among Older Adults Are a Serious Public Health Issue in Canada. It's put together by the National Initiative for the Care of the Elderly. And what's really neat about it is that this resource is designed specifically for older adults.
Yeah, and it's more relevant now than ever, because by 2040, it's projected that a quarter of Canada's population will be older adults, and the 85 and over group is going to be growing even faster than that. So this is a topic that's only going to become more and more important as time goes on.
Right. Okay, so let's jump right into it. The source, it doesn't beat around the bush at all. It says that falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalizations and deaths for Canadians 65 and older. 80% of seniors' injury-related hospitalizations are because of falls. 90% of hip fractures. That's wild.
Yeah, it really highlights the serious impact falls can have. And it's not just on the individual level either. When you think about the healthcare system, the cost of treating fall-related injuries, over $2 billion a year in direct healthcare costs.
Yeah.
And then you think about the emotional burden, over a third of seniors end up needing long-term care after a fall. So yeah, the impact is huge.
Yeah, it's way more than just the initial fall. Imagine having to stay in a hospital 10 days longer just because of a fall. The source says that's longer than any other cause.
It is. But here's the thing. Most falls and related injuries, they are preventable. That's the good news here. And that's what we're going to focus on in this deep dive. Understanding the risks and taking those steps so we can really reduce the chances of falls.
Okay, so tell me what we can do. The source, it outlines 8 best practices to prevent falls. Some of them are pretty surprising. Like, I did not know that some medications for sleep or anxiety can actually increase your risk of falling.
Yeah, it's true, because some medications can lead to dizziness, drowsiness, they can affect your balance, and all of those increase the risk of falls. That's why it's so important to talk to your doctor, your pharmacist, especially if you're taking multiple medications so they can adjust dosages or maybe explore alternative treatments.
So it's not just about taking your meds as prescribed. It's about being proactive and having those conversations with your healthcare provider. What else stood out to you?
Well, this one might surprise you. Adequate vitamin D.
Oh.
Yeah. We always think about it for strong bones, but it's a big player in fall prevention too.
Really? How does that work? I need to understand the why behind this one.
Okay, so think about it. Vitamin D helps with muscle strength and balance, both of which are super important for preventing falls. And there's research that shows combining vitamin D with calcium can significantly reduce the risk, especially if you're deficient in vitamin D.
So getting enough sunlight, maybe talking to your doctor about some supplements, that can be a real game changer. All right, so medications, vitamin D, what else should we be thinking about? The source mentions assistive devices like those non-slip shoes, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just, like, grabbing any pair.
You're right. It's about finding the right assistive device for your specific needs. So maybe you need a cane for stability or a walker if you need more support. Maybe orthotics would help with your balance. The key is getting a professional assessment. Someone like a physiotherapist or occupational therapist can figure out what would actually be beneficial for you.
So personalized solutions, not a one-size-fits-all.
Got it.
The source, it stresses the importance of treating any underlying medical conditions.
Yeah.
Like vision problems, heart issues. I mean, how are those connected to falls?
Well, if your vision is blurry or you get dizzy because of a heart condition, you're way more likely to lose your balance. So addressing those issues, that's a major step in reducing your risk.
Right. Looking at the bigger picture of your health.
Exactly. And that actually leads to the next practice, education.
Education. Okay, what kind of education?
So this is where family members and caregivers, they can really play a big role because education can cover a wide range of things, like how to safely get in and out of the bathtub, how to use mobility devices properly, even just raising awareness about potential hazards in the home.
So it's about empowering not just the individual, but their whole support system. I like that. Okay, home modifications is another thing the source talks about. What are some changes that can make a home safer, especially for older adults?
There are so many modifications, from simple to complex, depending on the individual's needs. Some simple ones, removing tripping hazards like loose rugs, installing grab bars in the bathroom. Better lighting, that can make a huge difference, especially on staircases. Or if someone has mobility challenges, maybe wider doorways or ramps are necessary. It's all about adapting the environment to reduce that risk.
So it's like a home makeover, but with safety as a priority. And it seems like we're seeing a pattern here. Personalized solutions, proactive steps. What's next?
The one we all know and love, exercise.
Of course, the magic bullet. But really, why is exercise so important for preventing falls?
Because exercise helps you maintain your strength, your balance, your flexibility, and all of those things are so important for staying upright. Especially exercises that strengthen your legs and improve your balance, like walking, tai chi, or yoga.
So functional fitness, those movements that make everyday life easier and safer.
Exactly. And the best part is you don't need a gym membership or expensive equipment to do these exercises. You can do them right at home or in a park.
That's great. Okay, so we've covered quite a few. What else is there?
Can't forget about good nutrition.
Right, food is fuel for everything. But why is nutrition so important for fall prevention?
Well, think of it this way. Good nutrition is the foundation for overall health and well-being. But as we get older, maintaining muscle mass becomes more and more important for balance, and that requires eating enough protein.
So it's not just about eating your veggies, it's about making sure you're getting the right nutrients.
And don't underestimate hydration. Dehydration, it can lead to dizziness and weakness, which again increases the risk of falls. So make sure you're drinking enough fluids, especially as you get older.
Okay, so I think we've gone through 7 best practices now. What's that final one?
Taking care of your vision. It might seem obvious, but any vision problems, even minor ones, can significantly increase your risk.
Yeah, if you can't see clearly, you're much more likely to trip over something.
Exactly. So regular eye exams are key. As is addressing any issues right away. Maybe it's a new glasses prescription, treatment for cataracts, or even vision rehabilitation.
So making sure you're seeing the world clearly. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Falls are a big deal. But the good news is there's so much we can do.
And that's what we want listeners to take away. Prevention is possible. By focusing on these best practices, we can all live safer, more independent lives.
Absolutely. So much valuable information here. But before we move on, I want to pause and ask you, dear listener, a question. You know, knowing what we've talked about today, what's one small change you can make this week to improve your safety or the safety of an older adult you care about?
It could be anything. Checking your vitamin D levels, clearing some clutter from your home, scheduling an eye exam. Everything makes a difference.
Every little bit helps. Now let's get into some more specific strategies and resources from the source material.
You know, one thing that really struck me was how much the source material emphasized the role of older adults themselves.
Yeah.
It talks about how important self-advocacy is and taking charge of your own health no matter how old you are.
I love that.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, I'm getting older, these things just happen. But this whole deep dive is about reminding everyone that you have choices.
Yeah.
You can take control.
Absolutely.
The source material, it encourages older adults to be active in their healthcare, to speak up, to ask questions, and advocate for their needs. Like, if you're feeling unsteady on your feet, tell your doctor. If you're worried about hazards in your home, ask for an environmental assessment.
Yeah, it's all about being proactive instead of reactive.
That's right.
So we've talked a lot about individual responsibility, but what about society as a whole? I mean, does the source talk about that at all?
It does.
Okay.
It says that we need some bigger changes to help with fall prevention.
Like what?
Things like accessible infrastructure, community-based programs, and public awareness campaigns.
So it's not just about individuals making changes, it's about creating an environment that supports people as they age?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that falls are a public health issue, and we need to approach it from a bunch of different angles.
We need individual action and changes to our communities
That's right.
to make them safer and more age-friendly.
Absolutely.
You know, it makes me think about something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The role of caregivers and family members. They're a big part of that support system.
Absolutely.
It can help with so much.
Totally.
Like home modifications or making sure medications are taken properly,
Yeah.
driving someone to appointments,
It all helps.
just being there for them so they don't feel isolated.
It really is a team effort to create a safe and supportive environment.
And it's not just about the practical stuff. It's about that connection.
You got it.
So they don't feel lonely, so they have a sense of purpose.
Exactly.
Because we often focus on the physical stuff. But those emotional and social things, they're so important too.
Absolutely.
They help people's overall well-being, and that helps reduce the risk of falls too. It's about treating the whole person. not just preventing physical injuries.
That's what it comes down to.
So, when we were talking about vision problems earlier, the source actually mentions a resource for folks facing vision challenges.
Oh, yeah.
The Canadian National Institute for the Blind, or CNIB,
Oh, yeah. The CNIB does incredible work.
and their role in fall prevention. I mean, it makes sense, but I hadn't really thought about it.
Totally. Imagine if you're dealing with something like age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy.
Mm-hmm.
Those conditions, they can really impact your vision and make falls more likely.
Yeah.
And the CNIB, they provide more than just glasses.
Okay.
They have these vision rehabilitation services that help people learn how to navigate the world safely, even with vision loss.
So they can still get around.
Yep.
Safely.
Yeah, they teach them techniques for getting around the house, using public transportation, even just crossing the street.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's all about adapting and finding ways to stay independent.
Even when there are these challenges.
Exactly.
And it's a great example of how fall prevention is about giving people the right resources and support.
That's the key.
Okay, well, we've gone over a lot today.
Yeah, we have.
From individual actions to societal changes and everything in between.
We sure have.
But before we move on, let's just do a quick review
Okay.
of those 8 best practices that the source talked about.
Okay, so remember, we talked about managing your medications, getting enough vitamin D, using the right assistive devices, and then there's addressing any medical conditions you have, focusing on education for both older adults and their caregivers,
Right.
and making modifications to the home to make it safer, doing regular exercise to get stronger and improve your balance, and of course, eating healthy and staying hydrated.
We also talked about how important it is for older adults to advocate for themselves,
Absolutely.
to be involved in their healthcare and tell people what they need.
Yes.
And we also talked about how communities can support older adults
Right.
by making things more accessible and raising awareness about fall prevention.
It's all connected.
It really is.
And the main message here is that falls don't have to be a part of getting older.
Right.
With the right information and support, we can all drastically reduce the risk and help older adults live those fulfilling and independent lives.
Yeah, that's a really powerful message.
It is.
This deep dive has been so informative and inspiring.
It has been.
But before we go, I just want to leave our listeners with a final question.
Okay.
Knowing what we've talked about today, what's one small thing you could do this week to improve the safety of an older adult in your life?
It's not just about our own circles either, you
Yeah.
know? We can all be advocates for change on a bigger scale.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what could listeners do to really make a difference in their communities?
So many things. Like you could contact your local representatives and push for policies that support fall prevention, more funding for senior centers, better transportation options, programs that help people make their homes safer.
Yeah.
All of those would be huge.
Right, taking action at that higher level.
Yeah.
What about on a more personal level? What could people do?
Volunteering, that's always a great way to make a difference. You could help out at a senior center or a community organization that works with older adults.
Yeah.
Or even just talk to your friends and family about fall prevention.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all it takes, you know? Raising awareness can really get the ball rolling.
Yeah, it's those everyday conversations that can lead to big changes. Every voice matters. We can all play a role in making things better for older adults.
Absolutely. Speaking of support, the source mentions a really great resource for seniors who are dealing with vision problems specifically, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, or CNIB.
Yeah, the CNIB,
Mhm.
they do fantastic work, but I honestly hadn't connected them with fall prevention before.
Yeah, well, just imagine if you're dealing with something like age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy,
Yeah.
conditions that can really affect your vision and make you more likely to fall. The CNIB, they do more than just give out glasses. They have these vision rehabilitation services that help people develop something called orientation and mobility skills.
Orientation and mobility skills, what is that?
It's basically learning how to get around safely even if you have vision loss. They'll teach you techniques for getting around your house, taking public transportation, crossing the street.
Wow.
It's all about adapting and maintaining that independence even with those challenges.
That's so important.
It is.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before. Don't let limitations define you. Find ways to overcome them.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how fall prevention is about so much more than just telling people what to do.
Right.
It's about connecting them with the right resources and the support they need.
That's exactly right.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We sure have.
From individual steps to things that communities can do and the importance of support systems. So before we go, I just want to quickly recap those 8 best practices from the source.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Remember, we talked about managing medications, making sure you're getting enough vitamin D,
Right.
using the right assistive devices for your needs, addressing any medical conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about the importance of education for both older adults and those who care for them.
Yep.
Making changes to your home to make it safer, staying active and getting regular exercise, and eating a healthy diet and staying hydrated.
Those are the big ones.
And we also talked about how crucial it is for older adults to be their own advocates, to participate in their health care and speak up about what they need.
Absolutely.
And we can't forget about the role of community support
Right.
and creating an environment that makes things accessible for everyone.
It really is a team effort.
It is.
And the bottom line is that falls, they don't have to be an inevitable part of aging. With the right knowledge and support, older adults can keep living those full and independent lives.
That's the message we want everyone to leave with.
It is.
This has been such an informative and inspiring deep dive.
I agree.
But before we go, I just want to leave you all with one final thought.
Okay.
Knowing what we've learned today, what's one small change that you can make this week to improve the safety of an older adult you care about? It could be anything. Checking in with a neighbor, offering to help someone with groceries, or just being more aware of potential hazards when you visit an older relative. Even the little things make a difference.
I think that's a great note to end on. We can all do our part to create a safer world for older adults.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, everyone. Stay curious and stay safe.